Hey there. I have a request for a hand building mask making lesson. So that's what we're going to do today. And I have in front of me on this small table, because I'm trying to mimic what your situation could be, all the parts of the kit that I gave you, the hand building kit. So we've got the board, the Hardibacker board, the vinyl canvas sheet, the two sticks, which are made of a yardstick cut in half, and about 1/4 of an inch. We've got these tools, sponge, needle tool, rib, serrated rib for scoring, knife, a wire cutting tool, and a Sureform blade. I think I put corks on yours, but I'm going to try to use it like this. So I'm going to try and use every tool that I gave you. And let's see, what else? That's not everything. I gave you some nice flimsy plastic, and I gave you some thicker plastic, and some in this case, stoneware, gold bar brown, stoneware cone 6. That's what we're going to be making our face out of. Now, I've also collected some things that you would want possibly from your kitchen or somewhere in your house. A rolling pin, and as you can see, this is a broken rolling pin, so I'm going to use this. You could use a table leg, something that will roll out the clay. A bit of t-shirt material, old t-shirt material, sort of part of our anti-stick kit, so clay doesn't stick to things. And this is just a sock with a little bit of cornstarch in it for applying cornstarch. Pieces of cardboard for setting things on. A salad clamshell kit for holding things so they don't dry out. Any kind of plastic container, it could be Tupperware. A spray bottle with some water in it. A little bowl for water and some rag bits, terry cloth rag bits. Okay. So, and I have some other things over here which I'll show you in a moment. But what we're gonna make a face, a kind of simple face, and I'm gonna go for about this size. And I don't know what that is. Oh, wait, I have a ruler right here on my yardstick. This one is about 5 inches by 3 inches. And this one was actually eventually pit fired, so that's why it's that color. But this one is gonna look more, we're gonna make a smaller one than this, but that's a bit of stoneware. So yours might have more of this surface, unless of course you decide to pit fire yours. That's for another lesson though. Okay, so one of my favorite ways to do this is to have something. We're gonna build a slab, and then we're going to drape it over something. So this rock is really the perfect thing, which I know you don't have this perfect rock, but this is what I'm going to be using. But if you don't have the perfect rock, you can use a bowl and drape over that. This is plastic, so it would need this draped over it, so when you drape your clay over it, it doesn't stick. And let's see, other things that I just walked about the house and saw, well, what could they use? What they might have. Just a little workout thing. And so it doesn't roll around. It's in a little plastic thing. And then put that over it so it doesn't stick. Again, you could take a bowl that you have, and again, I would use the paper, a big old sponge, This is bigger than what you need, but sponges are great. You might not even need the t-shirt over it because it won't stick so much. Or if you have none of that, you could use some towels that you just bunch up like this, or newspaper, something to give yourself a little mound. What I really like about the rock is that it's hard, or the things that are hard, it's just a little easier to sort of manipulate, get in there and manipulate. Okay. Oh, a can of beans, you know. This would be a nice way to work to it, raise it up a little bit. Okay. Anyway, you just gotta look around, but since I have the perfect rock, I'm gonna use the perfect rock. And I'm gonna cover it with a t-shirt. You just don't want your clay sticking, like you get your face put on there and like, oh, now I have to scrape it off of this object. And you just never know. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is create ourselves a slab of clay to drape over our object. So I'm gonna take, I'm not gonna weigh this. I'm gonna guesstimate in visually. Maybe I should weigh this. Well, I'm gonna say it's a half a pound. For this face, that's about right, a half a pound. So let's go with that. All right, so I'm going to wrap up any clay I'm not using well so it doesn't dry out. And I'm just gonna put it in the center here. Mush it down. So different ways to do this. You could pound it. You could sort of slap it around. And try not to get your edges all sort of crackly and whatnot. So I'm just gonna, just so that I can use this whole thing, I'm gonna keep the edges from just cracking by smoothing them. I am using the canvas side of the vinyl because I'd like this to be a nice setup. I don't want it to stick to this. So in this case, I'm just opting to use the less sticky side, which is the canvasy side. Like this, and I'm just gonna roll it out. And when you roll, you don't wanna just roll like this because it'll roll and stick to it. So start in the center and roll out. And you can see that size-wise, this half-ish pound is looking pretty good. Just for fun, I am gonna leave a little bit of thickness on this edge because it's a face. It doesn't need to be perfectly even, but these might add a little bit of interest to the face. So when I start making faces, I kind of think in terms of, oh, that's interesting. I'll keep that. Okay, so then I'm going to remove it from here because if it's sticking already, then I don't want to have to scrape it off of anything. So I'm gonna flip this, fold that over, flip it, peel the fabric off the back. And while it's turned over, something you should do with slabs so they don't crack, and you don't want the face to crack. We're going to just use the rib to compress the slab. It's a really good habit for slab making, one that I sometimes forget. So I'm going to go that way and just gently compressing it. Part of me was hesitating because I was seeing some interesting textures that I didn't want to lose for a face. It's all about the character. But let's just make a healthy slab. So I'm going to avoid doing the edges, but I'm going to go this way and that way. It's good slab etiquette. Okay. So then I'm going to take the perfect rock. Gently lift my slab. Working this small is going to be really forgiving. If you try to go much bigger, you know, you're gonna run into some issues. So I say start small. All right, I'm gonna gently place it on there and just kind of form it. Gently press it down. And whatever thing you end up using, that's what you want to do. So I've got the fabric in between the rock and the slab. Okay, my next trick is I make the nose. And so I need a little bit of clay, a little more clay. What is that? I don't know. That's like 1/8 of a pound. And I really start every face that I make with just a big old nose, because it just sort of sets the character. So don't overthink it. Make it a little bit elongated. I'm gonna make it a little bit elongated in this case, and I'm gonna set it right here, but so that it has a little better, so things don't fall off, like the nose doesn't fall off, I am going to score it. So this is a serrated edge, and I'm gonna score just really kind of the middle area. And then I'm gonna score the back side of this. My clay is wet enough that I'm considering not putting any water on it. However, I think for you guys, I'm gonna put some water on it just to play in it safe. So I'm gonna use this bowl that I'm not using for a foundation. I'm gonna put a little water in there. Gonna just dip that back in there. Don't put a lot of water, just a little bit. Okay, and now I'm just gonna shove that down on there. Okay, and I'm gonna mush it down a little bit. Trying to just feel like all these things can be part of it. You can smooth things later, but just get it on there and make sure it's stuck on there. All right, so I started with the face. Started with the nose. Just make a big old nice schnoz. And then I go for the eyes, and they're usually like a little lower than you think, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you can look at a light socket and it looks like a face. So it doesn't take much for it to be recognizable as a face. The eyes could be way exaggerated up or way exaggerated down, and it's all good. It's character. All right, so I'm gonna make eyes with lids. And I'm gonna take, you can see this. This look good, can you see it? I'm gonna do this scary thing where I take my thumbs on either side, and I'm just gonna press them in, and I just made some lids. So now we have some eyes. And you could do the same thing with the mouth. And it could be way down here and kind of weirdly separate, but it's still gonna feel like a face. Or it could be right up against it. I think way down here is kind of fun. So I'm gonna just do the same thing, and I just created an upper lip. And I can feel I just drilled through. It doesn't matter. I can feel there's a hole in the back there. You can see the red fabric. Anyway, it's there. All right, so I've got an upper lip. And then sometimes I will take that and sort of coax that down. Or alternately, oh, that made a kind of nice mouth. You can also take a little bit more clay and let's add a lower lip. A little tiny bit of clay. And since we're adding clay, let's score and slip. So I scored the face, I scored the little pad of clay. And yes, I've kind of lost that little thing I thought was going to be interesting, but that doesn't matter. Oh, he looks very determined. I like it. Or she. Who knows? All right. So now that I've sort of established where the eyes, nose, and mouth are, I am going to make some cheeks. So I need to get under this. And I'm going to, with my finger in the back, I am pressing out. You don't need big cheekbones, but I do like to see some volume there. And I could make a little volume behind the upper lip. And I could do some volume on the forehead. Just all that is pressing from behind. Trying not to crash through, but if you do, it looks like a scar. And again, some more character. So, all right. I'm feeling pretty good about this face, really as is, except for the eyes. The eyes need maybe some eyeballs. So I'm gonna take a little more clay, probably less than you think you need. Make little balls of clay, score them and slip them. Something I notice that sometimes doesn't stay so well. The other thing you could do is not put eyes in now, and later after it's fired, completely fired, you can glue beads in, marbles, magnets. I put in hearing aid magnets before. No, hearing aid batteries, and they looked great. So just other things you could do later. Okay, I'm going to put these in here. Actually, I'm going to score this inside there, and since I cannot get in with my serrated edge, I'm going to take my needle tool and I'm just going to make little scoring bits in there. Just to be safe. Okay, score this, put a little water on it, and plop that in there. Plop that in there. Okay, so I have the start of eyeballs. And then, I said I'm just going to use the tools that I gave you. So we're going to try to do that. I'm going to use the back end of the needle tool because it's got a little flat area, and I'm going to make pupils. But I'm going to have, rather than just looking straight ahead, I'm going to have it look off to the side. So, can I do this upside down? I don't know. I'm going to angle my tool so that it's going to look off to the side like this. So I'm going to push like that, and then I'm going to come over here and do the same angle. A little down, because I can see this one's going to give me a challenge. So, hop. So not only does it, ooh, that was kind of sticky. So I'm going to put a little bit of cornstarch on it just before I put it in there. And here's my second one. Okay, now I got to see what that looks like. Hey, that's not bad. Okay, so he's got a sort of certain look. And if that didn't work out, you can always scrape those out and put in different ones. Now I'm going to make it so that I can hang this on the wall. And I have my needle tool. I think that's probably the best tool for this. So I'm gonna just put 2 holes for putting a string in. So you'll be able to see the wire, but sometimes you can incorporate the wire into the look of the piece. So using the needle tool, I'm gonna choose spot here and here. Don't go too close to the edge because you'd like some material to actually hold it so it doesn't break through. It's just a little strength. All right, so drill in right there. Just make a little hole at first, and then know that this is all going to shrink. So you need a bigger hole than this. So once I have where they're going to be, I can make the hole a little bigger just by twirling this. Make sure it goes all the way through. You don't want to set yourself up that you have to try to ceramic drill it after it's done. So I'm gonna make sure it's big because, again, unless you're using some sort of invisible fishing line or something, you might actually want to see this. So I'm gonna clean these up just by smoothing that down. Unless you wanted to make that part of it too, that's cool. And smoothing the backside. And I'm feeling like this guy is pretty done. Now I know he's got these kind of marks on there. I could try smoothing them out, but I kind of like them. But if you want to smooth them out, you can just use your finger and run it right across. That even kind of made it cooler. It almost looks like a shadow, built-in shadow. Okay, so then when you're satisfied, you can just, in this case, you can just let it set up here until you pass it off to me to fire it, or wherever you're having it fired. If the piece actually was on something like this and it wrapped around and kind of undercut, you should probably remove it, because as this shrinks, as the clay shrinks, it might actually trap itself and you won't be able to get it off without destroying the thing that you put it onto. But again, this one is fairly open. All right. If you want to slow it down and you don't want it to dry right away, like maybe you want to work with it later, then I would suggest you either, if you put it under the flimsy plastic that I gave you, it'll dry, it'll continue to dry just slowly. If you put it under the thicker plastic, which I seem to have dropped, it'll take a little bit longer to dry. Oh, thank you. So you just would wrap that like that. Or the last, and my favorite, is using, I'm gonna put on this piece of cardboard and use one of the salad clamshell things. Put that whole thing on there. And what I like about this so much is that I can actually see the piece. But if you, so it really kind of stops it from drying, but if you're in a really warm room, I would suggest one more thing, which is taking a damp sponge. So I put a little water on this. It's not wet, not dripping. And putting that in there, just off to the side. You don't want any water getting to touch your clay. You just want the sponge to sort of be your humidifier. And then you can set this whole thing aside and just let it dry pretty slowly, or you can come back and mess with it because it's going to keep it pliable for you. Okay, so here's our face, and I just want you to have fun making your faces. And you know, they're always pretty recognizable, and more character is better. And if you don't like it, if you just don't like it, then you can recycle that clay and make another one or make something else. But I think they're pretty fun. Okay, have fun.